The music of Stravinsky has played a recurring role in our repertoire with the Southeast Symphony over the last 5 or 6 years. One of the very first things that I programmed as music director was the Firebird. And we followed the Firebird a couple of seasons later with a staged performance of Soldier's Tale. And we've gone as far as to program works by other composers that are directly influenced by Soldier's Tale. And a great example of that is Wynton Marsalis's Fiddler's Tale, which is an American retelling of this Russian storyline. This season we're performing the Symphonies of Wind Instruments, which was written in 1920, a few years after those iconic ballets like Rite of Spring and Petrushka and the Firebird, which brought Stravinsky so much fame and attention. And I wanted to sit down with some of my friends here in Los Angeles who've actually worked one-on-one with Stravinsky, and in hopes of getting a better perspective of the man behind this incredible legacy of music.
I met him when we were recording, actually. We were recording Firebird, I think. And I was playing second, my father was playing first. He was a living rhythm machine, you know. It's like when he conducted Petrushka or other little things that I kind of remember, it was like a kind of a clock. You know, those wind-up clocks. It was already at the tightest, and he would just do Petrushka. You just stand up like this and go, wow. Yeah, that's what happens when your heart is close to your brain and you're just this tall. And he just had this most incredible rhythm.
Monday Evening Concerts was doing the American premiere of Boulez's Le Marteau sans Maître. Stravinsky came to the rehearsals and sat on my left. I remember this because the vibraphone I had at that time, during one of the rehearsals, the motor began to vibrate, and so the vibraphone would go zh, 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 zh. And I found out that by slapping the sides, I stopped the vibration. Stravinsky, however, looked into the score every time I hit the side. And I finally had to tell him, Maestro, that's not in the score, that's my instrument. When we did the performance, of course I used my good vibraphone. And after the performance, he came up to me and he said, "This is a much better instrument." I said, "Of course, Maestro."
In 1966 or 67, I was asked to record The Owl and the Pussycat, which was the last piece that he actually finished. And he wrote the song for his wife, Vera, and it was to her favorite poet. And he wrote this piece just for voice and piano. And it was an extraordinary piece because the voice and the piano never actually are together until the very end, when we have to land on a D. When I recorded his 4 Russian songs, I had to sing in Russian. And so I went to his house and sat right next to him at his dining room table, and I would say, "Chilim-bom, zagarevielsa, koizi dom." Oh my God, I still remember it. And he, very good, oh, wow. I mean, he was so enthusiastic and polite about, my this, blonde Russian. But also because I then was married to his producer, John McClure, we used to go to his favorite restaurant, which was the Luau in Beverly Hills. And of course, Stravinsky was quite a drinker. Oh, the vodka would go down. And so we would try to keep up with him, which was impossible. I mean, he probably came up to here on me. And of course, he came up to John's waist. But we actually tried to keep up with him in drinking. It never happened. And he just, he was just a regular guy. Fantastic.
The last time that I played with him was at the Hollywood Bowl. The Bowl holds 17,000 people. It was packed jammed that night. He was conducting the Firebird, and everybody stood the moment it was over with and applauded for half an hour. And he had a double hernia, so they had to bring a chair out so that he could sit and acknowledge the applause. And that was quite amazing.
The music, Symphonies for Wind Instruments, was written in 1920 and revised in 1947. And Stravinsky dedicated this to his friend Debussy, who had passed away just a couple years before he wrote it.
Stravinsky had an affinity for writing wind instruments in the extreme registers. The Symphony of Winds begins with that iconic clarinet line high up in the stratosphere.
The music, the textures are side by side, groups of instruments playing what could be called themes or just blocks of sound, without any real connection between these blocks of musical motifs. And silence is the connecting sort of idea in this music.
Very poignant part of this work is the trios for flute that Stravinsky has written. It's haunting, and it's beautiful, and it's conversational, and there's a lot of dissonance and a lot of meter changes, so you feel this underlying angst, but yet you have this beauty of the low register of the flute and the talking to each other and the communication. It's incredibly special.
The bassoon was Stravinsky's favorite instrument. And proof of that is that almost all the major pieces have major bassoon solos in them.
And generally the meter changes in Stravinsky were more or less controlled by constant eighth,
Well, it's kind of crazy to think that in 3 years the Symphonies of Wind Instruments will turn 100 years old. But there's a lot about this piece that feels as if it was crafted yesterday. But I have to mention that this work is only 10 minutes of our entire concert. There's a whole lot more for the audience to enjoy, including works by Vaughan Williams and Strauss and Mahler. We look forward to seeing everybody at Chateau Chapel at First Congregational Church of Los Angeles. My advice would be to get your tickets as soon as possible because they will sell out. And we look forward to seeing you there.